Hello, Kurt Jackson here with this week's installment of Your Money Matters. This week we're going to talk about target date funds. They might be called life cycle funds. They're the most popular thing inside your 401k, 403b, 457 plan, and they're basically a mutual fund that is designed to supposedly keep that proper mix of stocks to bonds as you get closer to retirement. So it might be if you're going to retire around 2020, the fund might be the 2020 fund. If you're going to retire around 2030, it might be the 2030 fund. And uh, they're the rage because they're so simple to you, the consumer. It's like, oh, I'm going to retire in 2030. I'm going to use this. They'll take care of me. But that's not what we're finding. In fact, the SEC Commissioner Louis Aguilar believes that target date funds should be given the same treatments as cigarettes. They both should come with dire warnings, and I happen to agree with him. Here's a quote that he had in a recent article that says, "Our target date funds a ticking time bomb." And it's the relentless growth in target date funds is troubling because studies have shown that investors and industry professionals alike do not fully appreciate the risks these funds present. Target date funds, however, do not contain guarantees. Investors in these funds are not assured that they will have sufficient retirement income at the target date, and there's no guarantee that the investors will not lose some or even all of their investment. It's imperative that target date funds, with the end of a historic period of low rates rapidly approaching, the consequences of investors continuing to be ill-informed about the inherent risks of target date funds are simply too grave. And that's the Securities Exchange Commissioner. Securities Exchange Commissioner that says that. Basically, what the allure to you is it's a set it and forget it, because unless you're in this industry, you don't really like to deal with money all the time. It's confusing, it's complex, and nobody really knows what's going on. I mean, people act like they do, but they don't. I never even try to make people think that I know what's going on, and I hope that any of my writings, anytime you ever talked with me or any of my videos, you never feel that way, because I have no idea what's going on either. I try to help get an idea of what's going on, but what we try to do is help protect our clients no matter what happens, and be in a position to protect them and to grab opportunities when they're there. So, once we get their feeling is that once we get back to a normal market cycle, that these are powder kegs, okay, and that they're gonna blow up on us. Target date funds have gotten riskier since 2008, especially when you get close to your target date. So, like I said, if it's a 2020, if you're going to retire in 2020 or 2025 or 2030, that kind of range, the closer you get to that 2020 or 2025, 2030 period, the riskier they're getting. They're not necessarily doing what they're supposed to be doing by minimizing risk. And the way I look at it is, they've sold us on this bill of goods that bonds are safe. So as we get closer to retirement, we should have more money in bonds. Well, bonds may be safer than stocks, but they're not safe. They're still at risk of loss, especially if you've got money in bond funds, which most of these do. You're not buying an actual bond that you could hold to maturity and still get your money back, as long as whoever offered the bond could still pay it back. Okay, so basically, the scary part that they're worried about is, since 2008, target date funds, life cycle funds, they have quadrupled since then, which means an exponential growth in risk for everyone. And as I said, the reason why they're so popular is they're simple. Okay, I don't have to worry about it. They're taking care of it. So here's a quote from a gentleman in Boston. He's a financial planner. Says, "Participants in 401k plans choose target date funds for simplicity. When do you want to retire? Okay, boom, here, pick this fund and you're done. It makes it simple and easy to participate in the 401k, and most participants, especially those not familiar with finance and the markets, get overwhelmed easily. So sifting through 25 to 100 funds, sometimes even hundreds of funds, is tedious and daunting, and they would rather not participate in that. So target date funds make it easy to participate and manage your 401k. Just because it's easy doesn't mean it's going to work, or it's safe, or it's without risk. Okay, so it's this appearance of simplicity that really makes these target date funds attractive, but it's also what makes them problematic. Okay, so if you do a relatively quick due diligence, a step that's often ignored by casual investors because they really don't know what they're doing. The peril that's hidden within target date funds is missed. Okay, target date funds are much more aggressive than their names indicate. A 2020 target date fund can have much more invested in stocks than the name indicates. And as I mentioned before, just because they say bonds are safe, they may be safer than stocks, but it doesn't mean that they're safe. Okay. All target date funds have a retirement date, but the asset allocation of the fund is dependent on the glide path of the funds, which means it's based on the decision of the people running it. For example, many fund companies, may have a 2030 target date series, but some may have 20% equity exposure at the retirement date, and others may have 50%. So there's no set formula there. So it's not consistent, and it demands that advisors and plan sponsors thoroughly understand which target date fund series they're selecting and why. And I don't know that many of you that have 401ks, 403bs, 457 plans are getting advice from qualified people. And is it just kind of, hey, they talk to a whole room full of people and explain this to you, or do they sit down and go through and find out what you really want? And spend individual time with you and to make sure that what you're doing is what is best for you. So this same gentleman from Boston said that he's had a lot of clients that don't understand what the actual date of the fund meant. One person thought that it was actually the year the investor will retire or stop buying shares in the fund. Some thought that it was the fund that was the year that the fund invested most conservatively, and another one thought that it was the year that she'd withdraw all her money. Another thought that the target date fund was a guaranteed stream of income that when he retired, and that was the year that he'll get the fund's guaranteed income for the first year he'll be able to withdraw money. So there's a lot of confusion there. In fact, most 401ks, 403bs, 450s, most of these retirement plans don't have options for guaranteed income. It seems like the government's starting to allow more annuities in there, but my guess is this: since there's so much money to be made in here, the annuities that end up getting in there aren't going to be that good. Okay, there are better annuities, there are better programs, there are better products out there when you aren't in a captive audience. If you're in a captive deal that you have to choose, they don't have to be that competitive. So just because they put those in there doesn't mean that those are going to be best for you. So basically what I really wanted to just kind of get into here was just to let you know that, if you've followed my videos, my writings, I'm not a fan of the employer retirement plan. There's many flaws in it that I see. Basically I tried to take a look at, work at people at retirement and work back, and we've kind of reverse engineered this whole process. Now, I haven't done it all myself. I'm not that smart, but I'm smart enough to find people who are smarter than me and use their knowledge and what they've found to put together what we feel is a much better way of building wealth, but not just building wealth, but because ultimately when we get to retirement, everybody's ideal retirement is different. But I know there's two things that everybody needs to fully enjoy their ideal retirement. First is your health. Okay, if you're not healthy enough, you can't do the things that you want to do. Okay, now I don't have any control over that, or very little control over that. If I can take financial stress off your plate, then we might make you a little healthier. And the other is it's not a big pile of money that you need. And it's not just income that you need, but it's cash flow. It's net spendable income. So I might have a huge pile of money that gives me a big income, but then I got a huge amount of taxes or fees and all those kinds of things that are making the amount that I'm able to spend much smaller. So we're able to take, and even if we have less money, it's in a more efficient place that has less in taxes or maybe no taxes, and it can create more cash flow that lasts longer. We even have products that offer a guarantee of a guaranteed income for the rest of your life. Those guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the life insurance companies that are offering them. But there are a lot of different ways that are kind of alternatives to what traditional planning does, because traditional planning really doesn't want you to know about these types of vehicles, because if you knew about them, you'd take your money away from them and they wouldn't make their fees on you every year, year in, year out. So because not that we don't make money on the things that we do, but we don't make money, year after year after year after year, whether the market's up or down, we basically get paid in the most of the time. Almost all of our compensation is taken care of in the first year. So those are things that we explain to our clients depending on which strategies and vehicles that we use. So the key to today is, if you've got target date funds in your or life cycle funds in your retirement, and that's where you have your money at, you really need to sit down and take a look at that, because I don't think they're going to end up delivering what they want. Oh, and here's another little caveat. Now, I haven't found out for sure if this is the case, but I've read it in a few places, is once your employer offers those life cycle funds, those target date funds, if they don't work out like they're supposed to, the government's kind of giving them a free pass. You're not going to be able to go back and sue that employer because they didn't meet their fiduciary responsibility to take care of you. And in my opinion, I don't think that employers that in these plans are taking care of you anyway. Fidelity has gotten sued recently. Fidelity, the company that does these things, they got sued because they had all their people in their products that weren't necessarily the best. So it's interesting, and there's more and more of those things coming. But from what I've read, if the employer offers these target date funds, these life cycle funds, they've insulated themselves into you being able to come back and sue them if it doesn't work out. One of the things that I see with the 401k, the 403b, any of these, IRAs, is I think that we believe that if we just throw money into them, everything's going to be okay. Not necessarily a specific amount, just throw what we can. We should always put in more. They always tell us save more, which, well, that's the easy way to do it. But I'm afraid that so many of us think that just by putting that money in there that it's going to take care of us, that it's just going to magically give us the income that we need, all the things that we need to pay for us to live, to pay for us to play when we're in retirement. And from everything that I'm seeing, that's not the case. All right, so the sooner we can take a look at that and see if it's going to be the case. If it is, great, keep going the way it is. But if it isn't, wouldn't you much rather know now when you have time to make the changes? So keep that in mind. If you'd like to take a look at those things, I've got videos. You can meet with me. We can meet in person. We can do it quick online. You can do that by contacting me. It's on the, it'll be on the screen there, but it's meetme.so / no. Oh shoot, I can't remember it right now. So just check it out on the screen. Sorry, I don't have it in front of me, and I got so many dang different addresses I can't remember them all. So, but keep that in mind. If you'd like to see, I've got a little 6-minute video. If you want that, let me know, and I'll send it to you. That kind of explains one of the strategies that we use that we think is much better than any 401k, even with the match, even if you have to give up the match to do it, just because of the way this thing's structured. So, thanks for tuning in. If you like what you what you saw today, please share it with your friends, family, anyone you care about, anybody that might be interested in having the best retirement that they can. That's what our goal is to help people do that. So give me contact information will be on the screen there for you. So just give me a holler if you want to talk. It's been thanks for tuning in, and I hope to talk to you next week.